Tales from the SMP is back, and we see a group of members from the Dream SMP all stuck inside of a maze. In there, the members find a TV on the side of the wall which plays a video from a character named Mr. Sickle. Mr. Sickle is the owner of this maze and the person who's put everybody in there, and he says that they need to get through this maze before the sun sets. So they all work together to try and find their way through. They find a pathway which leads them to an area which has a bunch of pillars with buttons on top of them. It also has another TV screen on the side of the wall, which Mr. Sickle is on there again. Mr. Sickle says they have to work as a team to find their way out of this area, and by pressing the buttons, certain things will happen and you may be given items. He also mentions to hang on to every item that you get, as they may be useful down the line. After pressing a few buttons, Bad Boy Halo gets trapped inside of a cage in the center of this area and is completely stuck there. Sapnap is given a redstone lamp and goes to place it next to a redstone torch, this causing fireworks to launch and allowing them to leave this area. But Bad Boy Halo is still stuck inside the cage. They all head towards the exit of this area, and as they do, the walls start to enclose around Bad Boy Halo, leading Bad Boy Halo to be crushed to death and to be the first death of the maze. They proceed to follow the path around and are greeted with a parkour challenge. There's another TV on the side of the wall, and Mr. Sickle says that they have to work together to get across this mountainous area. There is two buttons at where they are all standing, one being purple and the other being green, and when you press one of these buttons, it makes certain paths appear, allowing the team to cross over to the other side. But one person has to stay at the beginning so that they can press the buttons and get to the other side. Puns agrees to be the person who will stay at this side and press all the buttons, and the rest of the team go and cross over. Some people did die on the way there, obviously because, you know, they're not amazing at parkour, but they come back at a later time. And once they're all over, they're able to escape this area, leaving Puns behind and potentially to die there. The next area is sectioned off into 4 colours, and on the TV, Mr. Sickle says to head to the middle and to give everybody a push. They all head towards the middle of this area, and suddenly everything around them disappears and a massive lava pool appears at the bottom. George and Sapnap start fighting each other and trying to push each other off of the platform, but ultimately ends up with Foolish being the person to be pushed off into the lava pool. And with Foolish's death, the blocks reappear and allows them to get to the next area. And in this next area, they are told by Mr. Sickle that they have to go around and gather keys, and if they see a golden block, then they are close to the next key. These keys being wither roses, so they have to go into different pyramids and areas of this ancient Egyptian map and gather as many wither roses as possible. And once they gathered all these keys and placed them in the right plant pots, the door falls down and they are greeted back with Puns, who didn't manage to die at the parkour area. So Mr. Sickle must have allowed him to pass through as a kind gesture for basically risking his life to stay there. As they wander to the next section, the area around them looks very similar to the in-between. I'm not sure if that's meant to be on purpose or anything, but it does have a lot of resemblance. And once they reach the next area, there is another TV, of course, with Mr. Sickle sounding very sad and upset. He says that this is the furthest that anybody has made it in a very long time, and for this next task, somebody has to die on their own accord. They cannot be forced or anything like that, they have to choose to die. There's a lever in this middle area, and when you flip that, it will cause you to fall down into a hole. Sapnap says that he's going to press the lever to die, but Quaxy doesn't like this and forces Sapnap out of the way, presses the lever, and falls down to his death. This allowing the rest of the team to head towards the next area. And as they're running down the path, Mr. Sickle says that Puns wasn't meant to be there and just kills him on the spot. Anyways, there's another TV there, and Mr. Sickle says that you have made it through the maze, but you haven't made it out of the maze, and says that the team is going to be stuck in this maze for eternity until something breaks. They jump down into a pit and find themselves looking at the TV at the start, repeating this whole maze over and over again. Cole is then teleported to DreamXD's world, in which he's met with DreamXD, who tells him that there is 2 demigods inside both of these worlds, the in-between and the other side. He tells Karl that he has to pick one or the other to go to, and Karl chooses to go back to the other side. And once he travels there, he is met with a demigod who is voice acted and played by Jack Manifold. He says that he's very happy to see Karl back in the other side, and tells Karl that every single memory that he's ever had on an adventure is manifesting themselves into this area. Karl walks through and sees a pretty much replica of the village that went mad, which was one of the first Tales from the SMP. And the more that this demigod shows him around, the more things he sees of his old memories, and even sees a few people from these previous memories. Jack Manifold says that to generate more memories in this area and to see them happen again, he has to stay on the other side, The longer he's in this place, the better these memories will be. He also mentions that the more time he spends in this area, these people will be fully fledged people, and that he can talk to them again and interact with them again. Karl tells the demigod that DreamXD told him to visit both of these places in order to decide which one he wants to go to more, and the demigod tries and convinces Karl to stay at the other side. Karl even says that he wants to go home and see his friends, but the demigod says that things are more important here, and that he should stay here more than the present time, as this is more important. Karl ignores what he says and goes back to DreamXD's world to then travel back to the in-between. And once in the in-between, he is met with another demigod, who is again Jack Manifold. Karl talks to this demigod about what happened previously when he was in the in-between, and says that he had to escape to the other side. The demigod says he doesn't really know what happened and told Karl to not stray too far from the path. They talk more, and the demigod says that he can help Karl understand his powers more and get a better grip for them, to be able to control them and eventually choose what time period and era he wants to go to when traveling. This demigod tries to convince Karl that the in-between is the better place to go to out of the other side and the in-between, and tells him that if he wants his memories to stop fading, then practicing his powers and coming back to the in-between might be the better option. And after a while, the screen goes black and Karl has travelled back to his library in Kanoko Kingdom, which is now the present day. Once in the library, he starts to write in his diary about the two options that he has, the other side and the in-between, and what their positives and negatives they are for each side. One, the other side will allow him to visualize his memories again and meet the people that he time traveled to, but the in-between allows him to keep his memories and not forget everybody that he loved and is friends with. Karl says that he thinks his memory is already fading, so proceeds to write a list of names of people that he knows he's close with, and says that if he writes down his best memories, then they'll never really be able to fade. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe and check out the video which is on screen right now. You will not want to miss that one.